Welcome to the House of Maths. Today I'm looking at statistics and in particular mean, median and mode from a grouped frequency distribution. So what do we mean by grouped frequency? Well, if you look at the data I've got here, it's a group. Okay, so it's between these two measurements. We've got 20 people that are between 150 and 160 centimetres. 35 people between 160 and 170. So you could imagine it's maybe a year group in a school where they've checked their heights and recorded them like this. So notice that we've got X is the data. So X, the height of a person, is greater than 150 and less than or equal to 160. So notice the use of the inequalities here. They are used to make sure that there is no problem in deciding where an item of data goes. So if somebody is 160 centimetres exactly, you're not going to be looking at this and thinking, well, I've got 160 here and 160 here. Where does 160 go? It could go in either of the two. But if we use the inequalities, you can see that that's not possible because this is 160, this is equal to, whereas this one is greater than. So if somebody was 160, it would go in this one and there'd be no confusion about where to put items of data. So the inequalities are designed to make sure there is no confusion, there's no overlap. Each item of data can go in a distinct group. Okay, so here are our groups. Here's our frequency, and we're going to find the same items, mean, median and mode. And again, like I did on the last session, I'm going to start with the mode. So remember, the mode is the most frequent. So if we look at the frequencies here, we can see 57 is the biggest. So it's telling us that the most frequent height is between 170 and 180. So we would write it down, the group, exactly like this. Okay, so the mode, the most frequent, is in this group. Okay, so if you think about what the data is telling us, 20 people are in this group, but we don't know what each individual measurement was for those 20 people. We just know they're somewhere in here. All 20 could have been 160, they could have all been 150, they could have all been in the middle, could be all completely different. Okay, we don't know that, but we know that most of them were between these two measurements. So we're given a range there, aren't we, of where the mode lies. It's here. So the median, if you remember the median, it's the middle one. So if we add up our frequencies, remember sigma f, that sigma just means sum or add up. So we add up all the f's and we are going to get 150 there. So 150 people were surveyed and their heights were recorded. Okay, so the middle person, if you're not sure how to find the middle one, check my last video. I go through that, but we use this idea of n plus 1 over 2, where n is the number of people, so that's 150, 150 plus 1 over 2, so it's 75.5 people long. So we've got 20 here and another 35, so we're down to 55 at that point. And then we've got another 50, so that's going to take us up to 112. So the 75.5 is going to be, it's going to crop up in this bit here. So again, it's the same. So our median is in that same interval as our mode. Now, the next thing we need to find is the mean. Now, in the last one, when we looked at a frequency distribution, we just multiplied these two together to get fx. And really we need to do the same thing here, but we've got a range here of numbers. So what we've got to do is we've got to decide on a value between these two, which is going to best reflect the data. And the easiest thing to do is to take the midpoint. So in here, we're going to have the midpoint. So we're going to get 155, 165, and 185. So what effect is this going to have on our mean value? Well, in questions on exam papers, they're always going to ask you to find an estimate for the mean. Okay, it's going to be that you're asked to find an estimate, because the value you calculate is not going to be the exact mean, because you don't know what people's height was. You just know that between 20 people were between that. So you've not got any exact value. So it's just an approximation. It's a pretty close one, because taking the mean point is a good approximation to use. So we can now just multiply these together to get our fx value, which is what I will do next. So we get that there. Then that. And okay, so we're just multiplying these together to get our fx, and then we are going to do sigma fx. Remember, sigma, sum, add up all the fx's, so we just need to add these up. So okay, so we're going to get 23,880. So our mean, remember x bar is the mean, is going to be calculated by sigma fx over sigma f. So we've got 23,880 divided by 150. Okay, let's see what that is. So 159.2. Okay, so that is our mean, 159.2. So what you want to do is think about, does that look about right? Obviously our heights run between 150 and 190, so your mean value has got to be between those two values. So if you get a value that is not between those values, then you know you've done something wrong. Okay, so 159.2 is between those values, so that's a good sign to start with. Looks a little bit on the low side to me. So you might think, well, did I add this up correctly? If you're not sure, I mean, I did it without using a calculator. I should be able to get that right, but I'm going to check it, because I could have made a mistake. Two, 23880, 23880. No, that's okay. Again, did that one in my head. Let's just check that. And that's 150 as well. So my mental maths is okay. These are the correct figures. So this is going to be our mean, 159.2. But as with everything, check it. If you're not sure, check it. And again, best thing to do is think, those are the values, that's the lower value, that's the higher value. Check your actual mean value is between those. If it isn't, it's a sure sign you've done something wrong. Ours is between it, but it just looked a little bit on the low side to me, but okay. It's hard to sort of judge it without doing the actual calculations. But there we go. That's the mean, median and mode from a group frequency distribution. Main thing you've got to remember here is it's an approximation. It's not the actual mean because we haven't got the data. We haven't got the exact data for each person. Okay. And you're going to have to use a midpoint to help you calculate this, or help you calculate the approximate value of the mean. Okay, if you enjoyed that, please hit the like button and think about subscribing. Thanks very much.